Press Preview. We're taking a look at the papers with Sonia Sodha and Diya Chakravarti, and we'll come straight on to your next selection in just a moment. First, I just want to get our viewers up to date with some breaking news coming into us from Manila. You'll have heard us earlier, perhaps, telling you about how a hotel and casino complex in the capital of the Philippines was put into lockdown after reports of gunshots and explosions at the Resorts World Manila. Police did insist they had the situation under control. They said that the attack was unlikely to be linked to terror, but in the last few moments, we understand, according to the AFP news agency, that police are saying that they have killed the casino gunman involved in that attack. So that's the latest news out of Manila this evening. So let's go back to our newspaper review, and the selection of our two guests here to kick off this section is at the front page of the Daily Mirror, and rather a grim headline: shame of the 10,000 bomb concert ticket leeches, they call them. So who are these people they're describing there?
Well, I think this is a really shocking and disgusting story, actually. So there's going to be a benefit concert on Saturday night that Ariana Grande is headlining at. It was obviously her concert that was targeted by the bomber in Manchester, lots of other big name stars. And they put out 15,000 or 14,000 free tickets for everyone who was at the concert itself that was targeted. And they had 10,000 more people apply than were there. So there's obviously 10,000 people who've put in fraudulent applications. We've seen some of these free tickets being put up on ticket tout websites like StubHub, and people who actually were at the concert not being able to get them because other people have fraudulently applied. And I just think, what a disgusting story.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, it's just, we've seen so many positive stories coming out after that horrible incident where people were coming together and, you know, show the spirit of Manchester, etc. And this is just such a letdown. It's just a terrible story.
Indeed, you're absolutely right. Let's move on to The Guardian. A lot of people might use the word letdown as well about this decision. Certainly world leaders have been weighing in, expressing their disappointment. And
that was Theresa May, wasn't it?
Theresa May used the word disappointment.
Slightly less sort of strong terms, I think, than Macron or Obama or Trudeau.
That's right, and this is the decision by Donald Trump to pull America out of the Paris Climate Agreement, just 18 months ago signed by nearly every country in the world. He says it's to protect American jobs.
I mean, I think this is a huge story. It's a really depressing story. The Paris Climate Change Agreement from 2 years ago was a huge step forwards in tackling climate change. It wasn't going to solve all our problems, but it was a really important step. They're voluntary agreements that nearly every country in the world signed up to. The US, the richest country in the world, which many would argue has the greatest responsibility, has now pulled out, and that could really jeopardise a lot of the goodwill that was round the table. So I think it's a terrible story. I think it's Trump putting America first, but doing it in a way that harms the American people, that actually harms American jobs in the green industry, even though he claims that it protects them. And it sends a terrible signal to the world. And I think Macron condemned him in the strongest of terms, and I wish Theresa May had done the same.
Like I was saying earlier, I don't think that world leaders, I understand why world leaders feel that they should come out and condemn it. I just don't think that's going to have any impact on Trump's decision at all. I just don't think that's how Trump works. It will also be interesting to see how he manages to disentangle the US from this accord, because I think I heard somewhere that it would probably be taking 4 years, up to 4 years, to get out of whatever they've got themselves into. So it would be interesting to see how that is dealt with. But one funny thing that came out of it was that he said, I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris. Pittsburgh voted Democrat. So, I mean, it's just...
And it's not just the citizens of Paris.
And it's not just... But so it's just one sort of soundbite from...
Just to say this evening, in the last few minutes, we've learned that he's had phone calls with Theresa May, amongst others, and other global leaders as well, to explain his position. And also, this is quite interesting, this is Lloyd Blankfein, who's the CEO of Goldman Sachs. He's only ever tweeted once, and he's tweeted on this issue. Today's decision is a setback for the environment and for the US's leadership position in the world.
And he's right, isn't he? But I think it's very interesting that a lot of the very strong opposition to Trump's position in the US has come from the American business community, and what a sea change that's been from, say, 20 years ago. So some of the CEOs of the biggest firms, like Apple, for example, have really come out and said this is incredibly important for the future of our planet.
OK, I'm going to whiz us on. We don't have very long, and we did promise people we'd talk about British Airways. What's this story on the front of the FT?
BA annoying its customers yet again. BA handled all the palaver over the bank holiday weekend where its IT system crash caused hundreds of delays and cancellations very, very badly. They're continuing to annoy their customers. They've got a website where people can go to make a claim, and they're telling their customers, try and do it on your insurance first. Insurance companies are saying, hey, hang on a second here, that's not right.
So adding to the frustration
Absolutely.
of those involved.
Yeah, it's just not helping their PR at all.
And sadly, we only have 10 seconds, but I do have to show this photograph before we go. Who is this?
It's David Cameron and Samantha Cameron on holiday, a world away from the election. Sam Cam posted a toesy, I think is what one would call a toe selfie.
And on that note, we must leave it. But Sonia and Dia, lovely to see you as ever. Thanks very much indeed. Stay with us here on Sky News. Coming up, all the latest international reaction to